America built some absolute trucking legends. Machines so powerful, so iconic that Europe tried to copy them and failed spectacularly. Today, we're diving into the 10 American trucks that set standards no one else could match. These beasts weren't just vehicles, they were engineering attitudes. And while Europe attempted to recreate the magic, the results were, let's just say, interesting. Get ready for a showdown of innovation, brute force, and copycats that couldn't keep up. Number 1. Kenworth W900. The Kenworth W900 is the single most recognizable long-nosed truck on Earth. Its massive chrome grille, stretched hood, dual stacks, and proud stance embody everything people imagine when they think of an American big rig. For decades, European manufacturers attempted to recreate the long hood prestige of the W900, particularly during the late 1980s and 1990s, when Europe experimented with American-style conventionals. Brands such as Renault, DAF, and even MAN tried building prototypes or limited-run models that mimicked the long-nosed design, but none of them succeeded. European length regulations simply made such trucks impractical. A long hood meant sacrificing trailer length, reducing payload, and increasing operating costs, something European transport companies could not accept. The W900's purpose in America was comfort, power, and image. In Europe, every centimeter mattered, so its core identity collapsed. Another reason Europe failed to replicate the W900 was driver culture. American truckers valued individuality, chrome customization, and classic diesel rumble. European fleets prioritized uniformity, fuel savings, and mechanical simplicity. No manufacturer could reproduce the emotional connection that the W900 had with American drivers. The Kenworth W900 wasn't just a truck, it was a lifestyle. And Europe never had the roads, laws, or driver culture to make that lifestyle succeed. Number 2. Peterbilt 379. The Peterbilt 379 is arguably the most iconic American semi-truck ever built. Movies, music videos, trucking shows, the 379 became the face of US trucking. So naturally, European brands attempted to emulate its long-nose glamour. Several manufacturers experimented with extended hood prototypes aimed at creating a European Peterbilt. These trucks had square hoods, chrome accents, and even American-style cabs in some cases. But they never achieved mainstream success. Regulations again killed the concept. European transport companies valued payload capacity, maneuverability, and efficiency above all else. A long-nosed truck reduced trailer length, created turning challenges in tight cities, and increased fuel consumption, all unforgivable sins in the European market. Even the attempts that reached production, such as the Finnish Sisu conventionals, were mostly purchased by niche industries like logging or special-purpose transport. They never became general long-haul machines like the 379. Culturally, the 379 represented freedom and individuality, a symbol of open American highways. Europe simply wasn't built for that image. European motorways, city layouts, and strict cab regulations forced manufacturers to return to cabovers, leaving the idea of a European Peterbilt as nothing more than a dream. Europe tried to copy the beauty of the 379. But beauty was never the reason the truck succeeded. It succeeded because it belonged to America, not Europe. Number 3. Freightliner FLD120. The Freightliner FLD120 transformed the American freight industry in the 1980s and 1990s. Lightweight, aerodynamic for its time, fuel-efficient, and highly customizable, it quickly became a fleet favorite. Naturally, Europe attempted similar concepts, long-wheelbase conventionals with better aerodynamics and modular engineering. Models like the Renault AE Magnum prototypes and several MAN concept conventionals were directly inspired by the FLD's idea of a more fuel-conscious conventional truck. But while Freightliner thrived in the US, Europe's copies never gained traction. The biggest obstacle was cab legislation. European truck regulations placed heavy limits on cab sizes and front-end length. This forced designers to shorten hoods and shrink cabs, losing the spacious sleeper and internal comfort that defined the FLD. Without its roomy interior, the entire concept fell apart. Another issue was Europe's industrial structure. American trucking relies heavily on long-distance coast-to-coast freight. Europe's shorter routes made large aerodynamic conventionals unnecessary. European operators preferred compact COE cab-over-engine trucks that maximized cargo length, reduced fuel consumption, and navigated narrow roads easily. Europe never needed an FLD, and when they tried to imitate it, the result was neither American nor European, but an awkward compromise that satisfied no one. Number 4. International Transstar Eagle. When International released the Transstar Eagle sleeper versions, they were luxurious by American standards. The Eagle trim introduced premium interiors, advanced sleeper options, stylish chrome detailing, and a driver-focused environment rarely seen in Europe at the time. This inspired several European manufacturers to explore more luxurious long-haul conventionals, but their attempts failed for one key reason. Europe's trucking culture in the 1980s did not value driver luxury the way America did. European companies prioritized cost efficiency and fleet uniformity. Upgrading trucks with premium sleeper modules was seen as unnecessary and expensive. European attempts at luxury conventionals failed because fleets didn't want to pay more. Drivers didn't demand American-level space. Strict length rules limited sleeper depth. The market for individual owner-operators was tiny. Meanwhile, the Transstar Eagle thrived because it was built for American realities. Long distances, independent drivers, and large sleeper cabins legally allowed on highways. Europe's infrastructure and business mindset made the replication impossible. The Eagle became a symbol of American premium trucking, and Europe could admire it, but not duplicate it. Number 5. Mack Super-Liner. The Mack Super-Liner is a legend in heavy-haul operations. With massive engines, bold styling, indestructible frames, and a reputation for brute strength, the Super-Liner became the truck you chose when weight, mountains, and durability mattered more than anything else. European manufacturers tried for decades to build equivalent heavy-haul conventionals, but none captured the Super-Liner's mix of muscle and identity. The biggest failure came from misunderstanding the market. America's heavy-haul sector relies on massive open highways, wide rural landscapes, high-weight freight corridor, a culture that celebrates oversized machinery. Europe, by comparison, deals with narrow medieval roads, roundabouts, low bridges, and strict weight laws. Even when European companies built powerful conventional trucks, they simply couldn't use them to their full potential. Furthermore, the Super-Liner's success was built on massive engines like the E9 V8. Engines too thirsty and too loud for Europe's fuel prices and noise regulations. Attempts to copy the long-hood heavy-haul design quickly collapsed under European environmental and size constraints. Europe admired the Super-Liner's spirit, but their roads, laws, and logistics models made such a truck incompatible from day one. Number 6. Western Star 4964. The Western Star 4964 has always represented a very specific American trucking identity. Rugged, customizable, powerful, and unapologetically driver-focused. Built for harsh environments, from Rocky Mountain passes to logging sites, the 4964's construction emphasized brute strength over efficiency. This philosophy fascinated several European truck designers who attempted to engineer their own versions of ultra-tough conventionals for mining, timber hauling, and special heavy applications. But Europe's attempts failed because they misunderstood the essence of the Western Star identity. It wasn't just a tough truck, it was a platform designed to be personalized. In America, owner-operators heavily customize Western Stars, adding chrome, lights, stacks, visors, and interior upgrades. The 4964 survives because of this culture. Owners choose the truck as an extension of their personality. Europe never had a similar owner-operator ecosystem. Fleets dominated the market, and fleets want uniformity, not flashy individuality. No European manufacturer could replicate the emotional connection between the Western Star and the driver. Another barrier was the truck structure. The 4964 used a long hood configuration that allowed massive engine blocks suited to high-horsepower heavy-haul work. Europe's strict length rules and narrow infrastructure simply couldn't handle a similar design. When European companies tried building rugged long-nose conventionals, they ended up oversized, inefficient, and commercially non-viable. In the end, Europe didn't lack engineering talent, it lacked the driving culture and logistical environment that made the Western Star 4964 possible. Europe's roads didn't need it, Europe's fleets didn't want it, and without the emotional attachment from drivers, every attempt to copy the 4964 was doomed before it even reached production. Number 7. Kenworth T600. The Kenworth T600 was the world's first true aerodynamic conventional semi-truck. Introduced in 1985, it reshaped American trucking by reducing wind resistance, improving fuel efficiency, and pioneering a sleek design that stood in complete contrast to the boxy tradition of classic rigs. Europe, which was already experimenting with fuel-efficient cabovers, immediately saw potential in the T600's approach. Several manufacturers attempted to borrow the T600's aerodynamic philosophy and combine it with European COE designs. But Europe's copies missed the core insight behind the T600. Aerodynamics work best when paired with longer wheelbase and a sloped conventional hood. European legislation didn't allow trucks to extend like American conventionals. So when companies tried adding rounded edges and aero fairings to their COEs, they achieved only small aerodynamic gains, nothing close to the dramatic improvements seen on the T600. The European trucks lacked the airflow channeling benefits created by the T600's long nose, slanted windshield, and integrated sleeper design. Another reason Europe failed to copy the T600 effectively was the region's lack of demand for fuel-efficient conventionals. Cabovers were already dominant and well optimized. European hauls were shorter, cities were tighter, and payload rules prioritized compactness over aero performance. Even if they succeeded in building aero conventionals, fleets wouldn't buy them because the cost-benefit balance wouldn't make sense. The T600 changed American trucking forever. It was the father of the modern smart conventional. Europe did learn from it but could never reproduce it, because their roads and regulations never allowed the full aerodynamic concept to function the way it was intended. Number 8. International 9900i. The International 9900i embodied something uniquely American: prestige trucking. It was large, tall, bold, chrome-heavy, and designed to make a statement. Owner-operators loved it because it balanced classic styling with modern comfort. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, several European manufacturers attempted to mimic this prestige truck concept to capture the American dream aesthetic, especially in Eastern Europe, where American trucks developed a cult following. But Europe struggled because European fleets didn't understand the prestige market. In America, owner-operators purchased trucks like the 9900i for personal pride, family tradition, and lifestyle identity. These trucks are investments the drivers polish, modify, and preserve. But Europe's trucking industry is fleet-controlled, meaning most trucks are purchased in bulk, with no emotional branding or personal identity attached. When European builders attempted to create prestige conventionals, they found no buyers who would pay extra for luxury, chrome, and bold design. Additionally, the 9900i required massive engines and long sleepers to deliver the American concept of living on the road. European length laws made replicating such interiors impossible. Even when prototypes appeared, they felt cramped and awkward compared to the real thing. Europe failed because prestige trucking doesn't exist there in the same form. Without the cultural foundation, honor, pride, owner-operator individuality, no manufacturer could recreate the spirit of the 9900i. Europe copied the shape, but never the soul. Number 9. Freightliner Cascadia. The Freightliner Cascadia changed the American trucking industry by bringing wind tunnel engineering, modular aerodynamics, and advanced fuel-saving systems into one unified platform. It became the most efficient mass-produced truck in North America. Naturally, European engineers took notice. Europe values efficiency even more than America, and companies experimented with Cascadia-like aerodynamic features on their own trucks. But Europe's attempts failed for a surprising reason. European trucks were already too optimized. The Cascadia made a huge impact in America because US conventionals had a lot of aerodynamic inefficiency to fix. Europe's cabovers, however, had been optimized for fuel savings since the 1970s. When Europe added Cascadia-like shaping to COEs, the aerodynamic gains were tiny. The fundamental problem was simple. Aerodynamics on a short, flat-nosed cabover can never match a long, sloped conventional. The second reason Europe couldn't copy the Cascadia was market structure. European fleets operate under ultra-competitive contracts, where fuel savings must be balanced with cost, weight, and reliability. The Cascadia's innovations required expensive materials and complex manufacturing processes that didn't provide enough marginal improvement for Europe's already efficient trucks. The result? Europe admired the Cascadia, but didn't need it. When they tried to copy it, the copies were redundant at best and commercially unsuccessful at worst. The Cascadia belonged to America's aerodynamic evolution, not Europe's. Number 10. Peterbilt 389. The Peterbilt 389 is the last great American long-nose icon, a truck that Europe deeply admires yet fundamentally cannot replicate. It represents everything European trucking regulations reject: extreme hood length, chrome, loud engines, personalized interiors, oversized sleepers, and a focus on aesthetic presence. But despite European admiration for the 389's looks, all attempts to recreate similar models have failed for decades. European truckers adore the 389's appearance, but fleets reject it instantly because it reduces cargo length, it increases fuel consumption, it cannot navigate Europe's tight infrastructure. Noise and emissions laws kill its engine options. Owner-operator culture in Europe is extremely small. Europe tried long-nose experiments in Finland, Russia, and parts of Scandinavia, but none succeeded on a large scale. Without regulatory freedom, European companies ended up producing short-hood conventionals that looked like compromised half-copies, neither American nor European. The 389's unmatched success is rooted in America's emotional trucking identity. It is a symbol of freedom, tradition, and craftsmanship. Europe can admire the truck, but it cannot import the lifestyle, the history, or the regulatory environment that made it possible. The Peterbilt 389 didn't just resist European imitation. It made those attempts look unnecessary and awkward. And those were the 10 American trucks Europe tried to copy, but simply couldn't match the power, durability, or legacy. If you loved this deep dive into the legends that shaped trucking history, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which truck deserves its own full video. Your support keeps these incredible stories rolling. Thanks for watching, stay safe on the road, and get ready, more epic trucking content is coming your way.